Thank you, Madam Chair. Zippy Duvall has been president of the Georgia Farm Bureau since December of 2006. Excuse me, a third-generation Greene County dairyman. Zippy retired from the dairy business in 2005. He now operates a 150 brood cow beef operation, produces and sells quality hay, and is a poultry grower, producing about 480,000 broilers a year. A Farm Bureau member since 1977, Mr. Duvall currently serves on the Greene County Farm Bureau Board of Directors and has held numerous leadership positions in the County Farm Bureau, including President and Vice President. In 1982, he was named Georgia Farm Bureau and the American Farm Bureau Young Farmer of the Year. Zippy Duvall is the real deal. Zippy, welcome.
Thank you, Congressman, and I'm glad to be here. Congresswoman, we have something in common. My mother comes from Pennsylvania, in Westover, Pennsylvania, but unfortunately, I took on my daddy's speech pattern in Georgia, and we don't quite do things, talk as fast as most people do in the country.
Well, that's great, but we love your Pennsylvania roots.
That's right. I'll try to get through real quickly because I know you got to vote. So I thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you about renewable fuel standards. And the Congressman told you where I come from. I am a true farmer, even though I am the president of Georgia Farm Bureau that represents 400,000 members across our state. The one thing he did not tell you was that my farm has about 300 acres of forest land on it, and that's important to note when I go through my testimony. Regarding renewable fuel standards, the farm sector in Georgia strongly support the increased use of domestic renewable fuel. We believe biofuel are a key component of the increase our nation's energy security. Many of us remember the 1970s and the energy problems we experienced at that time. There were long lines at the gas stations, and the gas pumps couldn't even reveal the price there. We had to double the price of the gas during that time. Unfortunately, during that time, Americans fortunately, they vowed to become more energy independent. But unfortunately, we lost our resolve, and as soon as the price of gasoline, as you referred earlier, Madam Chairman, we started going backwards. And the result today is we held over the same barrel of oil that we held hostage again 40 years later. Recent events, 35 years of history, should have taught us that America needs to be more self-reliant when it comes to our energy needs. The renewable fuel standards is an important step to recognizing the biofuels like ethanol, biodiesel, that they burn cleanly, clean transportation fuels, and they lessen our dependency on foreign oil. And they also revitalize rural America. American farmers today provide food, fiber, feed, and fuel for our country. We welcome the challenge, and we believe that American people will continue to be well served by our farmers. While Georgia farmers look forward to serving the needs of our people, we do have concerns about the proposed regulations offered by EPA. The RFS passed in the Energy Independent Security Act of 2007 requires new biofuels to emit 20 to 60% fewer greenhouse gas emissions than gasoline to be eligible for the RFS program. Our members have serious concerns about the terms indirect land use change and life cycle carbon emissions and how these concepts would be measured and implemented. We do not believe that there is a reliable way to measure accurately and to predict the production of biofuels that affect land use here and in other countries. For our farmers, the market dictates which crop that we plant, and it also decides where that crop will be grown. If there's sufficient demand for a crop, farmers will produce it. And if the market persists, greater efficiencies will follow. When my father was a boy, velvet beans were an imported crop, and 30 bushel corn was considered an average yield. 30 years today, 30 bushel corn is considered a crop failure, and I don't know that there's anybody in Georgia that can remember seeing a field of velvet beans anymore. Improved plant varieties, new technologies, and more efficient agricultural practices have produced greater crop yields with higher quality. My grandfather could have never imagined farm productivity. Likewise, it is unrealistic to think that anyone can predict how agriculture will evolve in this future based on single variable of biofuel utilization. New and uncertain science to predict land use change has no place in federal regulations. Georgia produces more forest products than any other state in the Union. 72% of our forests in our state are privately owned. We believe that it is important that the forest biomass be a source of renewable fuels. The RFS in the energy bill did not include all forms of forest biomass, and we believe that is unfortunate. Under the standards, the only forest biomass considered renewable is that actively managed tree plantations. My own farm would not qualify under that definition. The reason for such a narrow definition is unclear, but the result is that many family forest owners will be precluded from being active in participation. If the purpose of the standard is to increase the use of forest biomass, the definition should be as broad as possible to encourage the use. Farm Bureau supports change in the definition of renewable biomass to include all forms of forest biomass. It is important that legislation should be inclusive and as possible in regarding energy, feedstocks, and methods. The state of Georgia uses about 5 billion gallons of gasoline annually. Of that amount, only 7% of it is ethanol. We continue to support traditional corn-based ethanol. We encourage the federal government to revisit the existing limit on ethanol blend, which is currently capped at 10% per gallon of gasoline. Moving to a 15% blend would encourage more ethanol utilization. Many of our farmers in South Georgia that are members of our organization are part owners of the First United Ethanol, LLC, in Mitchell County, Georgia. That this facility now produces